What is up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of The Girl Who Talks Sports, the podcast where we talk sports and other girly things. I am Sam Cardona, and thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I feel like it's been forever. So this week, obviously, things are a little different. The episode's coming out on Friday when, obviously, usually comes out on Wednesdays. So it's a little awkward this week, and I feel like last week all I did was a mock draft, and so basically it feels like I haven't done a real podcast show in so long, but we are here, we are back, we are draft recapping this week with a very special guest, Lindsey OK, NFL blogger, personality, influencer on social media. I'm so excited to give you guys this episode this week. It's going to be so much fun. But before we do that, guys, I just have to say, I made it. We made it through a whole week post NFL draft. I gotta say, I give these guys so much props for doing these shows, for being, in full draft mode, because this year was the first year that I really was fully immersed in the draft. I did that live show with Andy and the guys on the brew party, 4.5 hours long, of me sitting in front of my computer, hunched over. My back was ridiculous. I felt hungover the next day, and I had 2 drinks, and that was it. So it was rough. Friday rolled around, did some more live shows, did some more recording. Do I know how to say the days of the week? Saturday rolls around. Jordan Arard Coupe, aka Sporty Jordy, one of my very best friends, came to visit me for the first time in 7 months. So if you guys haven't checked out my new extra content video on the YouTube channel with Sporty Jordy, please go do that. It is so fun. We played NFL Guess Who. It was a blast. But guys, I'm so happy that we made it. I appreciate you all for tuning into all of these shows that I was on. It was a lot of different guests and being a guest and making content. It was crazy. But before we get into our interview with Lindsey, and before we get into everything afterwards with some of our segments, guys, don't forget to subscribe on all podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you get your podcast from. Please make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It is so helpful for me if you guys leave a review. So please do that. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. As if you guys are just listening to the podcast, that's fantastic. I'm so happy that you guys are, but you're missing out on some extra content. Like I was saying before, I put out an episode, I'm sorry, not an episode, but a video on Wednesday with me and Jordan playing NFL Guess Who, and it's hilarious. We're cracking up the whole time. Jordan hits her head, sees some stars. It's a real good time. So please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And, turn on that little bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. I've put full-length podcast videos on there as well, so it's a really fun place. Also, if you're watching on YouTube right now, please make sure to like and comment and all that good stuff on this current video. And, guys, don't forget to follow me on social media, TGWTS Podcast on both Twitter and on Instagram. And I'm currently attempting to be on TikTok, trying to get a little bit more followers, a little bit more exposure. That is at The Girl Who Talks Sports. That is the @ on TikTok. So, now that all of that is out of the way, guys, before we get into our interview with Lindsey, here's just a quick affiliate read for Buzzsprout. I know one of the best decisions I've ever made was to start this podcast. And I'm sure some of you have thought about starting one as well. But the question is always, where do you start? Buzzsprout is the best and easiest way to start your own professional podcast. They've already helped over 100,000 people launch their own podcast, including myself. They can get your podcast on every major podcasting platform. They provide you with your very own podcasting website, audio players to drop in other websites, detailed analytics, tools to promote your episodes, and so much more. Buzzsprout also publishes new blog posts, podcast episodes, and YouTube videos every week. To start your very own podcast and get a free, yes, a free $20 Amazon gift card, click the link in the show notes. Buzzsprout will know that you were sent by me, the girl who talks sports, and help support the show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast. So guys, without further ado, let's get into our interview and NFL draft recap with Lindsey OK. Okay, everyone. So this week we are joined by a very special guest. Lindsey OK is here joining us to talk about the NFL draft, which I'm so excited to get into. Lindsey, thank you so much for coming on this week.
Thank you for having me. I know it's been kind of back and forth a little bit, so but I'm glad we finally got to work out a time.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to talk to you about the draft because I feel like you're very knowledgeable and you like know a lot, and we can have like this very in-depth conversation about it. So I'm really excited to get into it. But before we do, I kind of want to get your origin story. I want to hear, how did you get started in sports? What persuaded you to start writing and start blogging? And, was there a special moment, or was it just like, this is what I'm going to do?
Right. So I started like literally as a fan, like on Twitter, just tweeting my thoughts on the games and everything. And then I ended up getting an internship, like just out of the blue. I got an internship with Ed Reed, and it was like, I mean, such a shock. That was like my favorite player. And it was really eye-opening. I really got to see how things work behind the scenes, and not just on the football field. I mostly did things for his foundation, different events, signings, all that kind of stuff. And then through that, I ended up obviously networking a ton, meeting a lot of players, coaches, front office people, media people. And then just from there, I just kind of kept doing the Twitter thing, and I wrote for a couple sites. I did a Ravens podcast for a little bit, and then just kind of figured out what I was good at. And eventually I started to feel like the major media companies, and this, I'm not trying to like bad talk anybody or anything like that, but there's always somebody above you that's telling you what you can say, what you can't say.
Right.
There's like, I mean, I was writing for this one site who would take literal chunks out of all my articles and just tell me like, this is too mean, or we can't say that, or that might be perceived wrong. And like, again, not taking anything away from them, like I totally understand all of that, but it kind of, I felt like there was almost a muzzle on my mouth. And that can be a good or a bad thing, but so I eventually just started my own thing, and I'm in charge of my own content. Nobody else's name is on it. And so yeah, that's kind of from then to now.
So I'm curious, I know like you have a Rams sweatshirt on right now, but is your team the Ravens?
Yeah, my favorite, I'm a Ravens fan. I always have been, but I just I have pretty much something from almost every team. I just kind of, get it in, and why not wear it?
Yeah. I mean, I have stuff from other teams as well. But so how did you become a Ravens fan? Did you grow up in Baltimore?
So I went to college in Baltimore. I grew up in Maryland, in Annapolis, so which is, I guess, probably about 45 minutes southwest. I don't know. But yeah, it's just, I started in like as a younger like teenager, just like watching the games with my friends and kind of doing that. So that's kind of like my team. But as like time progresses, like you have players that go elsewhere, especially nowadays, so you kind of follow those players where they end up going. And
so I think that's a solid segue to start talking about this draft a little bit. Do you think that the Ravens had a good draft this year?
I do. I'm in the camp where I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. I would have liked them to go more offensive line, and that's what their entire offense is based upon. And I mean, they lost a lot of key pieces, and to not take an offensive tackle was kind of, I don't know, I kind of knocked them down a couple points because of that. I'm also kind of wary of them taking a wide receiver in the first round. I have PTSD from Brashad Perriman. I just can't get I hope this is like, they're just so bad at drafting wide receivers, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth. And I hope this is the one that finally works out for them, but I'm kind of apprehensive about it.
Okay. All right. So overall, you feel like it wasn't awful though.
Right.
I think pretty solid. Okay. All right. And so what is your overall experience with the draft? Like, I know, you're doing a lot of writing, and, I think all of us were kind of burnt after this past weekend. So what was like your overall draft experience? Did you think it was entertaining, or,
Yeah, obviously the first round is the most exciting.
Yeah.
I went to it a couple years ago when it was in Dallas, and
Wow.
obviously, or not Dallas, Philly, and then the following
Okay.
year in Dallas. And I had something where I ended up not being able to go, and then obviously this past year with the COVID and everything, it just didn't happen. And I was gonna go to Cleveland, but I was in between shots, and I just like my own comfortability level, like I just wasn't
Yeah.
comfortable going. So, but hopefully next year things will be different. But I obviously the first round is the most exciting. It's also the most lax. This time there were so many trades like in and out, and like how I do things is I have like my own spreadsheet. I was also doing a live show, and
Mhm.
then obviously I'm trying to keep up and watch the draft. I'm getting texts on my phone, so it's obviously like such a cluster, you know what. So, um, but I mean the last day is probably the most lax. I'm obviously not. I mean,
Right.
I'm not saying nobody's invested in these picks, but they're more or less like the guys who may or may not work out. So there's not like a bunch of, hype that there is with like the first or even the second and third rounds. So
Right. Yeah, I know. I experienced my first like all hands on deck draft this year, and I also did a live show on Thursday, and it was 4.5 hours long because we did
yes.
the entire first round, and I was like, oh my God, when I'm watching this just like leisurely, I don't feel like it's this long. But when you have to be in front of a camera and on a microphone for that long, I was like beyond exhausted on Thursday night. And then I woke up Friday and I was like, wow, I have to go on another live show today.
Yeah, it's
It
a
was
lot.
it's hard.
It really gives you a lot of respect for the guys like
Oh yeah.
Jeremiah and like Mel Kiper and all those guys that sit there for hours and do it.
Yeah, no, it really, and they're like all in like all the time, they're writing mock drafts and revamping them and then going on TV and getting, the expert analysis, all that stuff. So I give them a lot of props because this was really like my first time just going all in. And I was like, a Sunday came around and I was like, all I want to do is go to sleep. And
Yeah.
just that was it. But okay, so overall good draft experience. Who do you think had the best and worst like overall draft? Like, do you think that anybody had like a terrible draft?
Um, I I really hated the Seahawks draft. I mean, I know they didn't have a lot of picks, but they really didn't protect Russell Wilson like they should have or like
Mhm,
he wanted them to. So
mhm.
that one kind of raised a red flag for me. As far as the best, I really loved what Cleveland did. I mean, on top of them just revamping their entire defense this offseason, like they got so much better on paper.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Chargers did really well. I really liked what Carolina did. They really showed that they're kind of invested in Sam Darnold, which I was kind of surprised at. So
Right.
they did really well on both sides of the ball. So those were the ones that I felt did a good job. I hope that the Jets too. I feel like they go like, especially around like a rookie quarterback. Like I hope that gives him a lot of confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And we've seen the Jets time and time again draft a quarterback in the first three picks. And then, down the line, now Sam Darnold isn't even a New York Jet anymore.
Right.
So I kind of want Zach Wilson to really succeed in New York. And like, I'm a Giants fan, but I root for New York sports. Like, I want the Jets to be a decent team. Do you think that Zach Wilson can be that for the Jets? Or like, do you think it's just going to be another Sam Darnold situation?
I really hope so. I like the kid. I think he's going to get a bit of a culture shock coming from Utah, but
Yes,
I hope that
definitely.
I hope that doesn't. I feel like he's professional enough to where I don't think it will bother him mentally. Obviously, going from college to the NFL is a huge thing for a lot of players. So I really think behind Trevor Lawrence, I think he is probably one of the most NFL ready though, as far as like
Mhm.
starting a team.
What did you think of the 49ers pick? Because I was kind of convinced that they were going to go Mac Jones at 3, but they ended up going with Trey Lance. Where do you stand on Trey Lance and the fact that he's a little bit more, I guess, inexperienced as opposed to these other quarterbacks?
Yeah, see, I thought they were going Justin Fields, so that's funny that you say that. Like I
Oh,
was,
interesting.
yeah. So I I thought that was who they were going to pick. I thought all along that the Mac Jones thing was a smokescreen. I
Okay.
can't see somebody like Kyle Shanahan trading up and I mean potentially um, breaking down that trust with your current quarterback to get Mac Jones, who is likely going to be there at number 9. So that's kind of why I didn't think it was Mac Jones. I'm surprised at Trey Lance, but I'm also not surprised. Again, not taking anything away from him. I think behind Trevor Lawrence, behind Zach Wilson, I think Justin Fields is the most NFL ready quarterback to lead a team, to start a team. So I was surprised that they didn't take him, but in the end, it made sense, them saying that. I mean, this entire couple of weeks, we've heard that Jimmy Garoppolo is still staying here. Don't worry about it. So that kind of makes sense that he's going to sit back and learn for a year or 2.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was, everyone was hyping up Trey Lance a lot. And my concern with him going that high was that I was like, okay, he's got 1 year of college under his belt. Like, that's it. And while he did a fantastic job, there's that, you need a little bit more than just 1 year in college to be in the NFL. It's 2 very different things. So I think that Justin Fields also is like one of the better quarterbacks in this draft, and one of the best picks in this draft was the fact that the Bears traded up to the Giants slot and got Fields at 11. What did you think, like, that's the best pick in the draft, or do you think that there was somebody else?
For sure. That was definitely the one. So when you sent me the kind of breakdown about what we were going to talk about, I always take some notes and just like have some talking points. And that was my first one. So like Justin Fields is obviously like, I knew all along, like, even though they were hyping Andy Dalton as their starter, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you guys are going to ride with Andy Dalton in September. I don't care if you took a quarterback in the draft, or if you're going to trade for somebody, or if, you're signing another vet, you're not riding with Andy Dalton in September. So I'm glad that they got the young guy. Even if it means he might sit behind Andy Dalton, they're still saying Andy Dalton's their starter. I don't believe that for a second. I think it's going to be Justin Fields.
Yeah, my like just first reaction to that was, okay, they're saying that Andy Dalton's going to start. He's going to play like the first game, and he's going to do awful, and they're going to be like, oh, sit him down. Bring in Justin. Like, that I feel like is something that happens all the time, because they're like, oh no, we're going with the veteran. And you're like, no, obviously this kid's going to be so great. Like, why not just start him? But they never want to, I guess, undermine the veteran that they've just took on.
Yeah. So. And I understand that. And obviously you still want to have that good relationship with your starting quarterback. But I mean, there's also a situation where Justin Fields could come into camp and just blow Andy Dalton out of the water. And I mean, what's Andy Dalton going to do? He was a backup last year. So until
and I mean, he's used to it, I think, at this point. I mean, he got a little bit more of a starting job after Dak went down last year, but if Dak stayed healthy, he would have never went into the game for the Cowboys. So I'm definitely on board with you. And I also think that like pick that, I mean, the quarterbacks are the flashy picks, like everyone loves when they draft quarterbacks because it's a change in leadership and that kind of thing. But I think the Lions taking Sewell at 7 was probably one of the better picks that really no one was expecting, because a lot of people had him going to the Bengals, and then they ended up taking Chase. So I thought that was kind of a really solid pick for them, especially with their new quarterback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I hope Chase ends up working out for the Bengals and they don't sit there down the line and say, man, we should have taken him.
Yeah. I was convinced that the Bengals were going to take Sewell, because I really was like, okay, Joe Burrow's coming back from this injury. He's going to have these guys up front to protect him. But then when they went with Chase, because of the relationship that he has with Joe Burrow from LSU, I was like, I get it. But also, like, what if Joe Burrow goes down again? Odds are his career might come to a close before he even gets to start it. So I was really kind of like hoping that the Bengals would take Sewell. But I mean, with the dynamic between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, I have a feeling it's going to be so electric, because they already have that relationship from college.
Right. And there's nobody else there. Like, he's not taking anybody's spot. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. AJ Green's gone. He went to the Cardinals, and they needed a receiver for sure. But all right. So we're talking about a lot of really good picks. Do you have a pick that you're like, oh my God, this was awful, I can't believe that they did this?
Again, the Ravens, the wide receiver pick still stands out to me. I can't get over it. I really can't. I really hope Bateman is the one that works out for them, but I just can't get over it. I'm sorry. And you also can't look fail to look at the fact that, I mean, the wide receiver position isn't a great spot to be in Baltimore. That's just how it is. It's not, I'm not trying to hate on Lamar Jackson. I'm not trying to hate on the Ravens, but I mean, they're a run first team. So, you know, wide receivers aren't stoked to go there. Obviously they drafted a guy, he didn't really have a choice, but I mean, to say they need one isn't a secret, but again, I hope that works out for them. And again, Chase, another thing with Chase, as I had that written down too. I really hope it works out for him instead of them going down the line and seeing like, oh crap, Joe Burrow tore his other ACL and now like we are down a quarterback when we could have had an offensive tackle. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I really hope it does work out for the Bengals. I mean, they haven't been on anyone's radar for so long. And then Joe Burrow gets drafted and we're like, wow, maybe the Bengals can actually be good. And then him going down, it was really tough to see. But yeah, I think that there was a certain amount of like picks in this draft that were a little confusing. I know the Saints picked up someone that nobody really knew who they were, or he was going to be going like much later in the draft. And the Packers picking a corner in the first round. Like, what are your thoughts on this whole Aaron Rodgers situation? Do you think that, you know, he's going to stick around, or do you think he's going to go?
I am so like this is one of those things where I go back and forth on like all the time. I understand his frustration, and I know Aaron's personality is like, he's not like a my way or the highway kind of guy, but he is kind of cocky to the sense where you have to be cocky to be a quarterback. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, especially, and it's like Aaron Rodgers, like not only was he like MVP, but he's like, it's Aaron Rodgers, like behind Tom Brady, like who else is there? So, I mean, and we saw what the Bucs did with Brady this past year. Anything Brady said, they did it. So I mean, it's not outworldly to assume Aaron Rodgers wants the same thing. And I don't think he's asking for much. I mean, I know we're hearing all these stories about how he's mocking the GM in texts and all that stuff. But I mean, all he wants is the pieces he needs, that he knows he needs to win a championship. And I mean, it must be hard for him to be this great quarterback who has one Super Bowl ring and who gets so close every year, and then, you know, somebody else loses it for him in the end, because that's what happens. So, or he gets injured. But besides the point, like there's nobody in that division that really comes close, and you still can't bang it out. Like, why not?
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm not like putting it past him. I think maybe he's going about it the wrong way, but also at the same time, I feel like he's just at his wit's end. He knows his career. Like, I was convinced he was going to retire last year because of the way he was talking, the quotes, him looking around the locker room at the end, like, all that stuff. I was like, he's going to retire, isn't he? But I mean, he knows his career's on the downswing. He's only got a couple years left. He's what, like 36, or he's like
36 or 37.
Yeah. And I mean, how much longer can you last? 2 more years? So, I mean, if that team's not going to do it for him, and realistically, where else is he going to go that has all those pieces that he can win with? Like, who's available? Houston? No. You know, like that's like, even like there were rumors about him going to the Broncos. Like, they have more pieces than Houston, but do they really have a Super Bowl team? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. And like the Broncos, the fact that people keep bringing up the Broncos is so interesting to me, because I'm like, okay, like, yeah, there's definitely a spot there, like in terms of a quarterback, you know, even though they just picked up Teddy Bridgewater, it doesn't mean that Aaron Rodgers coming into the mix wouldn't sit him down immediately. So it's weird. And I think the Raiders are in the mix as well, which is also interesting because like I think they fared well within their division. But overall, I did not see the Raiders doing anything really all that good last year. You know, you got your new stadium, you got your new city, and like you just really didn't. They didn't prove anything to me other than like the one win they had over the Chiefs.
Yeah. And Derek Carr is one of those quarterbacks where, and there's plenty of them around the league, but you never know. Any Sunday, you never know if you're going to get good Derek Carr or bad Derek Carr. Yes, you never know if he's going to run down the other team's throats and just like, you know, put his team in the position to win, or he's going to be, you know, throwing 3 picks in the fourth quarter and loses it for the whole team. So, I mean, you can't bank on a quarterback like that because you don't know what you're going to get every Sunday.
Yeah, no, I feel like Derek Carr is one of like the most up and down quarterbacks in this league because he can perform very well. Like there are definitely times where he comes in and we're like, oh wow, look at that. Like I said, like they played the Chiefs and won. And we were like, oh, okay, maybe the Raiders are the real deal. And then all of a sudden it's just like the next week rolls around and he's just nothing, like absolutely nothing. So
like, for 3 points.
Yeah.
Where was that?
It's really crazy how up and down he is. But the thing is that I really feel like if the Packers actually listen to Aaron Rodgers and what he wants, he won't go anywhere. He likes some guys on this team. You know, he feels, you know, he's been there for so long that it's kind of hard to leave. And then, you know, then he'll get the Brett Favre comparisons, and then that will never end. But I just don't think he's going to stick around. I think that they're just not. I think solidified it for me was them drafting that corner in the first round. It was kind of like a big old like, screw you, Aaron, we're not getting you a receiver in the first round. And then not like, it just didn't really make any sense. And it really, when we saw the pictures of him at the Kentucky Derby, he looked unfazed. He was like, you guys do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm going to just, you know, hang out with my new fiance and just live my life. So I don't think he's really all that bothered.
I don't think so either. And especially the Jeopardy thing kind of brings something else into the mix, which I'm not saying he's using that as a weapon against the Packers, but he can be like, look, I have this other opportunity over here. And what are you guys going to do to keep me here? It's kind of like when you want a promotion at a new job, you can say, I have this other offer from so-and-so, give me a raise or I'm leaving.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this all started as well back when Mike McCarthy was still there. I think that he hated Mike McCarthy. And when he finally got fired, it was like, oh, this is time for Aaron to shine. And then LaFleur came into the mix and they kind of butted heads in the beginning. I think they have a better relationship now, but, you know, he kind of has this, like you were saying, like this ego that you kind of need, but also, you know, if no one's going to respect the fact that you are a veteran and one of the best quarterbacks in this league, then like, what does it mean to stay? Where someone else is definitely going to respect you. Someone else is going to be like, yeah, we'll take Aaron Rodgers. We'll give you whatever you want. So it's an interesting storyline. And it's funny that like we were dealing with this last year when Tom Brady was like, yeah, I'm not staying on the Patriots. And everybody was like, oh my God. And it's like kind of coming full circle again, that it's like, okay, the next best quarterback in the league is now saying that he is unhappy where he is. So it's pretty crazy. But going back to the draft, I'm curious to see what you think is like kind of like overall, what did you think was like the craziest moment in this draft? Like, did you feel like there was anything that you were like, oh my God, I cannot believe that happened?
So kind of one of those moments before the draft, but it's also to do with the draft, was the Niners trading up. I thought that was insane. I did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
That was just, I mean, I know that they were kind of pissed that Jimmy Garoppolo, you know, I don't think he lost the Super Bowl for them. I think the defense did, but you know, he missed, who was it, in the end zone. So I don't know. That was kind of a surprising moment. I also kind of was surprised that the Falcons didn't take a quarterback. I mean, you can't pass up Kyle Pitts. You can't. He's not somebody that you can leave on the board and be okay with. But I mean, same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Like Matt Ryan's not lasting forever. Matt Ryan's only got a handful of years left. And I mean, they were super high this year with a lot of talent there. I mean, they could definitely Justin Fields, you know, and they would, you know, go straight from Matt Ryan to Justin Fields. So I'm kind of shocked about that. What else? Houston taking a quarterback was also another one. It kind of said to me, you know, with Deshaun's situation, I don't really want to spend too much time on that because I still don't know what's going on with that. And I don't want to say anything, but, you know, that says everything that Houston's prepared to move on from Deshaun, whether that's because of everything that's going on or whether it's because he doesn't want to play there anymore. So that's kind of the first kind of public acknowledgement that they know what's going to happen and they have to do something about it.
Yeah, that Houston pick, the fact that the first thing that they went with, and their first pick was at like 67, like the first thing that you deal with is a quarterback just spoke volumes. Like you could have literally done anything else that far down in the draft and you went with a quarterback, including the fact that they have Tyrod Taylor on their team and they have Ryan Finley, who, you know, it's not really a great quarterback, but, you know, if you need a backup, he's there. Yeah. But Tyrod Taylor, I mean, he's had his moments in the NFL. I feel so bad for him because it seems like every year he gets hurt and then the rookie comes in and just beats him out of his job. And it sucks. It sucks so bad for him. So I'm like, okay, he's in Houston. He's a solid quarterback and he's going to put the work in. Like, why would you spend that 67th pick, the first pick in the draft for your team, on a quarterback? I think they think they just wanted to like send a message. I really don't. For me, that was probably one of the worst things. I was like, really? Like, you really should focus maybe on something else, like maybe a replacement for JJ Watt, because he's not on your team anymore. Like, why would you not think of that first? It just, that whole thing really was like, their whole organization is a complete mess.
Yeah.
Horrible. Just so bad. But yeah, it's overall, there was so many things that happened. For me personally, the Philadelphia Eagles trading up with the Dallas Cowboys to get Devontae Smith just put me in shambles. I was so upset. As a Giants fan, I was already celebrating. I was like, oh wow, we're getting an Alabama wide receiver. This is great. And I'm like not even paying attention. I just look up at the screen. I see Philadelphia Eagles trade. And I'm like, oh no, they're taking it away from us. I was so upset.
Yeah, that was definitely on my list too.
Yeah, and the thing was too, I saw the Eagles and the Cowboys were putting out like false reports on things, like comments. So to like kind of throw people off so that no one would expect them to trade with one another. But the fact that the Eagles and the Cowboys literally got together to screw the Giants over, because it's like, we hate each other, but we also have a common enemy and we can't let them get Devonta Smith. And I was like, oh, we were so close.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was really so upset. And during our live stream too, like there's a full-blown reaction of me just falling apart.
Your heart breaks.
Just falling apart in front of the camera. And I was like, oh my God. And like, right after that, so the other person we're doing the live stream with was a Bears fan. Mm-hmm. So it was Giants fans and Bears fans, and the Bears traded with the Giants to get Justin Fields. And then that was a whole other thing that was just crazy. And we were like, oh my God, you have to draft Justin Fields. There's no other reason why you guys would trade up this high. So overall, I think that was one of the craziest things. But what did you think of the lazy boy chair?
Oh my God. When I first saw that, I was like, this has to be a joke, right? Like, oh my God. Of all things, why?
It was hilarious.
And then I'm thinking in my head, my like over panicked brain, I'm like, all those people are going to be sitting in the same chair. Are they sanitizing it? Like,
oh my God. I didn't even think about that.
Going there just because I was like so blown by this. I thought it was so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like having just like the pre-game on, like while, you know, I was like running around getting things together. And I remember walking in, looking at the TV, and there's Rich Eisen and Roger Goodell, and he's sitting in this horribly ugly brown chair. And I'm like, tell me that's not the chair he sat in last year when he was at home in his basement. I'm like, they literally took that chair, put it on a plane, and brought it to Cleveland. The amount of work that had to go into just getting, there was definitely a team of people that was like, we have to get Goodell's chair to Cleveland. And that was their job for like a week. It blows my mind.
And like, I'm also sitting here and I'm like, what did they expect this reaction was going to be? I feel like everybody was just like, what? Like, did they expect people to be like, oh my God, that's so cool? Like, they took the chair from the basement. Like, I don't understand the thought process there. It was so bad.
I'm afraid that they're like gonna want to keep that as like a draft tradition now, and that like next year we're gonna like be in Vegas, like of all places, and they're gonna be like, oh, bring in Roger's chair that is like old and like not even nice. It's like this old ratty boy, like lazy boy chair. I'm like, why are we sitting people in the chair that you've sat in for like how many years in your basement? It was so strange. It was ridiculous. Yeah, but overall, I mean, other than that, and the fact that they kind of like with the Jalen Waddle, that they were like, Jalen Waddle doesn't love his family. I was like, whoa. And like, because he like didn't hug anyone, but like moments before, the camera didn't show that he was hugging people.
Yeah.
At least like totally were like, yeah, no, he doesn't hug anybody.
At least like I remember the previous year, they for every pick they had some like crazy sob story for everybody, and I'm so glad that they didn't do that this year. It was like so and so's dad left his family when they were 3, so and so, like, and I'm just like, why are you putting everybody's business out there? Like, I wouldn't want like to go to a new city and have everybody know about my family problems.
Yeah.
Or like my biggest trauma in my entire family. Like, just so I'm glad they didn't go that route. I will give them that.
Yeah, I think the only thing they really did, like kind of did with that, was Kwity Paye, because but his story was like really interesting to listen to, because there was like a civil war happening, and like his mother was in a refugee camp, and then basically like got herself out while he was like 1 year old, and then came to America. And I'm like, okay, that is like a solid story. And it was one story that I was like, okay, that's really cool. I'm glad that they told that. He was like very proud of it. But then other than that, usually, yeah, you're right. They're usually like, yeah, this guy's mom has breast cancer and this and that, and she's here today. And I'm like, why are we sharing all of this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a crazy process. But this draft, I'm glad that we're finally back to almost what we were at, and that Roger Goodell can hug players when they come up onto the stage.
Yeah. And I like I don't know if you do, but I like the entire like red carpet thing.
Yes, me too.
What he's wearing, I don't know. It's just, you know, I like that part too. So I'm glad we're back to that.
Yes.
With that though, that because I know the draft last year they were supposed to be escorting every prospect like over across the, what's it called? I don't know, the water on a boat. And that's how we're gonna go to the stage. I'm so sad we missed that, because I feel like that was gonna have such good content. But hopefully they'll do something like that in Vegas next year.
Did you have any person that you thought was like best dressed and worst dressed?
I liked, who was it with the pink suit?
Patrick Surtain.
Yes. He was my favorite. It was just the best. Trey Lance was also very well dressed.
Yes.
I don't think anybody was terribly dressed. I like to see how everybody go all out.
Yeah, I that was my favorite thing. Same with me. That like dusty pink suit. Yes. I was like, so he looks so good in that.
You have to be so confident to wear that too. So I love that.
Yeah, I really did. I mean, Zach Wilson looked fine, but he also looked like he was like attending his sister's wedding or something. Like, just very plain. But like, I get it. Like, he's a Mormon. He's very conservative.
You're not gonna wear like a checked suit if you're from Utah.
Very true.
So again, culture shock maybe.
Yeah, I definitely think that, you know, Zach Wilson's gonna come to New York and just be like, wait a second, like, what's going on here?
You know how many places he's gonna get carded at?
Like, I kid you not. I did like superlatives for like the 2021 NFL draft, and person most likely to get ID'd when they're 30 went to Zach Wilson.
Yes, absolutely.
He looks like he's 12.
He's cute, but like he's cute in like a I'm watching the Disney Channel kind of way.
It's so, I literally saw something the other day about that they were like, why does Zach Wilson look like the villain in like a Disney Channel movie? Yeah. And I'm like, why are we roasting Zach Wilson right now?
Yeah.
That is really funny. Yeah, I definitely, in terms of the red carpet thing, I thought that was so fun too, because they had Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith like kind of like together, and Jalen Waddle was just hyping him up. Mm-hmm. He was like, this is my guy, he's gonna go before me, like this and that. And I was like, that's so sweet. Like, they're such boys. It was just really cute to see.
Yeah.
But overall, I definitely wish that like the red carpet thing was a little bit bigger, because like I want more people to talk about it, but I feel like at that point people are like, yeah, no, we're just focused on the draft. And I'm like, yeah, but did you see the pink suit?
Yeah.
Also, I think, who was it? Kyle Pitts had on teal tropical socks.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, this man thought he was going to Miami. He had to have thought he was going to Miami. He did not think the Falcons would draft him. Like 100%. And it makes sense. It definitely makes sense, but and he had like this like hunter green suit on, and then like these like the same like color as my water bottle, like these color socks. And I was like, that guy really thought he was going to Miami. But yeah, so overall the draft was fun, but I'm excited for next year. I think Vegas draft is going to be insane and really fun. I mean, I don't really look too far into the future. Do you like even know if there's like going to be any prospects for next year already?
No, I'm NFL 6 days a week, and I give myself one day off. So I don't want to watch college football on my day off. So that's where I'm at.
That's very fair.
I'm not like a draft person either. Like I'm not one of these people that studies all the picks or anything like that. Normally once everybody starts, once April starts rolling around, I'll start watching highlights of guys and things like that. But that's really the most in-depth I go into it, just because I honestly do not have time to watch college football. I'm not going to sit here and watch every snap of so-and-so. I just honestly don't have time. So I'll start studying the players once, they get on their teams, once we start, getting into camp and things like that. That's kind of where I start.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just sit down one day and I just go through like as many prospects as I can and like try to see like who might go where. And I'm like, I have to cram like years of college football into like one day, basically.
Yeah, I don't do mock drafts. I think they're kind of stupid. No offense to anyone who does them, but like nobody knows who these people are going to take, who's going to trade where. I mean, the most that I'll do is say, okay, the Bengals need an offensive lineman first, a corner, tight end, like that's pretty much all I'll do.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that really goes in depth that far.
I did a mock draft this year for the first time, and I hated every minute of it. I was like, this is way too hard, and also all I'm doing is making an educated guess.
Right, you're guessing.
And like that was it. And like after that, like after like Trey Lance went at 3, it just sparked just like this like ripple effect that like everybody's like mock drafts were just screwed up because everyone didn't have Trey Lance going at 3. Yeah. So I was like, this doesn't even matter. I put so much time into it, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, and it's not like a March Madness bracket where like you can keep going and there's other choices. It's like once you take that guy, your whole thing is messed up.
Yeah. It was really hard, and it took way too much time. And like even after I finished it, I was like, I don't even like this.
Yeah. Like
I'm writing down people like twice.
Yeah.
I like forget I've already drafted someone.
Yeah, I did one time for like a site I worked for, and it was the entire time I did it, I was thinking of everything else I could be doing at this time. But instead I'm sitting here doing this.
Yeah.
For no reason, because I'm just making guesses.
That's literally what it is.
People like that stuff. I'm not going to hate on them for, some people.
Oh yeah. Really I respect the people who do that like multiple.
Yeah.
In like a season, like they're like, oh yeah, this is my 3rd mock draft revision, and I'm like, 3rd? I barely made it through 1. I
know.
I can't even get to 1.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but overall, Lindsey, thank you so much for coming on this week to talk to me about the draft. I've really had a great time chatting with you about everything. I want you to plug your everything that you're working on, social media, everything before we go.
All right. Thank you again for having me. I love coming on shows with other women in sports. It's such a great thing. And I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more of this kind of stuff. And I just love to see it. So thank you. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at Lindsey OK. I have a site, lindseyok.com. It's currently being revamped. That's one of my off-season goals, is to not rebrand, but like kind of like, clean it up a little bit. And then I also have a Patreon, which is basically like a YouTube channel at this point. So that is at Lindsey OK as well.
Great. All right. Everybody, thank you so much, Lindsey. And we are going to go back to our regular scheduled podcast programming. Imagine it was possible that local fresh groceries could be delivered right to your front door. You would have so much free time, you could listen to more of The Girl Who Talks Sports. Instacart gives you unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. Better than what those other guys who nickel and dime you do whenever you use their app. Instacart can deliver to your front door in as little as 1 hour. You're not even tied down to one store. You can shop multiple stores, find deals in your area to save some money, and shoppers hand select your items based on your preferences. So don't worry, they'll keep your gentle items like your eggs safe too. To start your 14-day free trial, click the link in the show notes so Instacart knows that you were sent by me, the girl who talks sports. And this also helps to support our show. Instacart. Never step foot in a grocery store again. All right, guys. I hope that you enjoyed that interview with Lindsey OK. I was so excited to talk to her. I've been following her for a really long time, and I finally had the chance to talk to her about the NFL and the NFL draft. So that was our NFL draft recap. And guys, I have been on several shows this past week with NFL draft recap. If you guys missed Monday's show with Andy Hopper on the Brew Party and Sporty Jordy, please make sure to just check that out. I'll put the link in the description. It was hilarious. It was so much fun. We went over every single team and we graded every single team. We talked about Trevor Lawrence's hair and how I want to French braid it because, as you can see, if you're watching the video, you can see I love French braiding hair. I can French braid my own hair. I could French braid Trevor Lawrence's hair if he asked me to. So please make sure to check that out. It was so fun, and that's like my full in-depth analysis on every single team, on every single draft pick rather. So please make sure to check that out. Okay, guys, so I feel like haven't had the chance to have segments in a while. Last week was the mock. Before that, I really don't know the last time we had a tea time. But the NFL offseason never fails to provide me with the tea that I need in order to wake up every single morning and continue with life. So, let's get into our first segment on the show, and my favorite segment on the show, Tea Time. Tea Time is my favorite segment on the show because we delve into the hot, steamy gossip of the sports world. And this week, it is spicy. Division rival spicy. I'm so excited. So, let's just jump right into it. If you guys hadn't heard, Alejandro Villanueva was this Big Al. He was this big guy on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they were in a bit of a quarrel because of pay and they couldn't afford him and he wouldn't take a pay cut. So it turns out that Alejandro Villanueva is now a Baltimore Raven. Now, to preface, I know that you guys know this already because I say it all the time, but my brother's a Steelers fan. And when I texted him and said, "How do you feel about this?" he reacted with a thumbs down, and he goes, "Does this answer your question?" And then called him a traitor. So obviously he is not in the best mind space, which is okay. I totally understand. You're one of your big, this guy was a big deal for the Steelers for a long time. And then he left, and now he's on the division rival, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, you might think, "Oh, Sam, things like this happen all the time. Why is this on your tea time? People go to division rivals. Sometimes it happens." No, there's more. There's more to this. It is so much more. So, not only has Alejandro moved on from the Pittsburgh Steelers, no. He decided to start running his mouth and talking about people on his former team. And I guess we can say the rest of this episode surrounding the idea of just running your mouth and just saying things that come to your mind and just not even thinking. So Alejandro came out, they were asking him about, the move from Pittsburgh to Baltimore, He decides to throw shade first at our friend Juju Smith-Schuster, who we have talked about several times on this show. Should Juju be dancing on logos? No, but he's a kid. Let him play Fortnite. Let him do his TikTok dances. Who cares? It really made me mad that people were like, oh, he shouldn't be doing that. He should be focusing on football. Like, because he's like on an app, everybody's on apps. You can do work and also be on social media. So, this is what Alejandro Villanueva had to say when they were, okay, I'm going to read you this tweet from Jameson Hensley, who said, Alejandro Villanueva said it's better for linemen to play for a run-first team like the Ravens. And then there's a quote. Quote, I'm assuming it's not as much fun for the receivers because they're not getting all the catches. They're making the TikToks and they're having fun on their social media. End quote. So, Big Al out here just taking stabs at Juju and Chase Claypool for like no reason. I don't know what animosity that he has towards the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's obvious that it wasn't just about pay. It's obvious that there was some sort of discrepancy in this team with Alejandro and this team, because obviously he's like not okay with the way that this team was last year, which is fair. You can be upset the fact that your team didn't, do as well as you thought they would, breaking that undefeated streak and all that stuff. But dang, taking shots immediately. He literally got signed like yesterday. Like, dang, Al, like, take it easy. And I'm like, okay, taking shots. Juju, I haven't seen any rebuttal from him. I don't even know if he's seen it, whatever. So I'm like, all right, he's taking shots. He's angry for some reason, for whatever reason. And then I saw another thing that he said where he's talking about the guard from the Pittsburgh Steelers, David DeCastro. And Villanueva straight up said, I'm sure Kevin Zeitler will be an upgrade. Like, bro, dude, like, I know Zeitler's your teammate now, but like, what is your problem with taking shots at your former teammates? Did something happen? Did someone like do something to you? I am blown away. And I think that this is a nice spicy tea time to bring us back into it, because I really want to make sure that with this off season going down, we have things to talk about. So overall, Alejandro Villanueva has things to say. I don't know if Pittsburgh has, the same amount of beef with him as he does with them, but maybe there'll be something that comes out of this, and we'll see if Alejandro can eat his words when he's playing TJ Watt twice a year. So we will see. Now, friends, let's get into our second segment, and not my favorite segment, but it's things to talk about, things to discuss, and that's our Let's Talk About It segment. And this week on our Let's Talk About It segment, we're going to talk about Tom Brady just spewing words. Tom Brady's just spewing words out of his mouth, like left and right. He's just going around like, I'll talk to anybody. I'll just do anything. First things first, he said very recently that he would trade 2 Super Bowl rings to have the Super Bowl 42 win over the Giants, which, bro, I know you're still salty about it. I know that would have made you the perfect team with the perfect record and the perfect Super Bowl, but you didn't win. Sorry. We are years and years and years past this. So I thought that was really funny. And also Eli Manning tweeted back or something, like I saw his response to it where he basically was like, no, never. Never will I ever let you have that title from me. And I'm like, you stand your ground, Eli. You stay there, you do you, homie. So that was one thing. The other thing, which is the original thing that I wanted to do on our Let's Talk About It segment, is what he said after he found out that his pal Julian Edelman was retiring. And this is what he said, quote, during the NFL draft, there was a NFL draft-a-thon that they were trying to raise money with COVID-19 and all that stuff. This is what Tom Brady said. We know Julian didn't retire. Let's be honest. He's just too scared to tell Bill he wants to come to Tampa. I've been there. Dude, straight up. Okay, now a lot of people, obviously, have been talking about Julian Edelman possibly going to Tampa Bay because It's history of repeating itself with Robert Gronkowski, who came out of retirement to play with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. But the thing is that I keep reminding people is that Julian Edelman did not just retire because he felt like he was finished. He retired because he failed a physical. Now that means that you can't play football. But the thing is, of course, next year can roll around. He can retake a physical. They can deem him fit to play football, whatever. But, like, Tom Brady straight up, he just does not care. I want to know what his relationship with Bill Belichick is like now. I feel like they are like two exes, just picture you're in a bar and you're sitting on one side of the bar and you just look down and you see like your ex and you guys just stare at each other and you were like long term, like you thought you guys were end game and it broke up horribly, and you look down and you see them and they're just staring at you. You're like what, the amount of tension, the amount of awkwardness that is going into that is so funny to me. I just want, let's all think about this for a second. Like a tell-all, like a sit down where Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, let's throw Jimmy Garoppolo into the mix too, just all sit down and just talk like a big therapy session. It would be insane. It would be so juicy. I would love every minute of it. But either way, he's taken the stabs at Bill there. And maybe Julian Edelman is too scared to say that he wants to play with Tom and not Bill. He's like the fun parent in a divorced relationship. They're like, oh, well, I really like hanging out with them because they're more fun, and I live here with you, and you're not that fun because you're really bossy. Like that's the dynamic here. So Julian Edelman is a child of divorce, and maybe he does want to play for Tampa, but he'd have to retake a physical. He'd have to make sure he's deemed fit to play football in order to do that. So maybe, you can never write it out. I was preaching when Rob was in retirement. I was like, he's not coming back. Everyone shut up. Everyone just be quiet. Rob Gronkowski is never coming back. He's so happy. He was so happy. And then, he was like, oh, I have a big announcement. Everyone was like, what is it? And he was like, oh, I'm throwing a beach party in Miami for the Super Bowl. And everybody was like, oh, okay. And I was like, see, he's not coming back. And then the offseason happened. And then Tom Brady left the Patriots. And then he went to Tampa Bay. And Rob was like, ooh, take me with you. And I was like, no, you ruined it for me, dude. You ruined it. So who's to say Julian doesn't become a Buccaneer by next season? But once again, we'll see. I just think it's so funny that Tom Brady is just out here spewing things out of his mouth and not giving a damn what the repercussions are. Okay, let's end off our episode this week, people, with our feel-good story of the week before I say goodbye. And this week's feel-good story is much different than what I usually do. Usually I have some happy thing where someone's giving to charity or getting married or having a baby. But this week, our feel-good story is about me. It's about me. I'm so excited. So basically, the feel-good story here is not so much what I did, but just the essence of what I did. Basically, obviously, COVID-19 has affected the world in incredibly insane ways we never thought possible. Shutting down, not seeing your friends, not seeing your family members because you don't want to get them sick. Things are turning around. Things are doing so much better now. And especially here in New York, things are really different than they were a year ago. I was sitting in my house a year ago wondering when I was going to be able to see my boyfriend again because we didn't want anyone in his family to get sick or in my family to get sick. And we're so naive about this virus now with getting vaccinated and just feeling really good about everything. Things are different. And what I was able to do this weekend, guys, this past Sunday, I went to a New York Yankees game in the flesh. I went to a baseball game. I couldn't tell you. Last year, if you told me, hey, next year you're going to be at a baseball game, I would have been like, are you sure? I really don't know. I don't think. But I felt great. I felt comfortable. There was no one sitting around us, so I didn't feel really overwhelmed that I had to, really be cautious about anything, and it was just so great. And I went with my boyfriend, I went with my best friend and her fiance. It was great. We got to sit down, we got to watch a baseball game in person, and we were on the Jumbotron. I was on the Jumbotron in Yankee Stadium. That is blowing my mind. We were during the YMCA. It was great. It was a blast. So our feel-good story this week, I was able to do something that a year ago seemed impossible, which is just happy, and I'm so glad that things are slowly returning to the way that they used to be for the most part, and things are still going to be a little different, but for me, I was so excited, and things are looking up. So guys, please make sure, continue wearing your masks, get vaccinated, just continue to social distance, but see your friends, see your family now, knowing that things are going to be better. And that is going to do it for our show this week, guys. Once again, don't forget to subscribe on all podcasting platforms, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, comment on this video, and follow us on social media at TGWTS Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram, and on TikTok at The Girl Who Talks Sports. Friends, I hope you all have a fun, fantastic, sports-filled day, and I will see you all next week. Bye!